Beep beep, and welcome to a very special episode of Working. We have here today three of the creators, writers, performers on the amazing HBO show Los Spookies. I'm June Thomas. I'm in my third month of cutting my own hair. I'm also one of the hosts of Working. Just to introduce our wonderful guests, Anna Fabrega is a Brooklyn-based comedian who has written for the Chris Gethard Show and appeared in Portlandia, High Maintenance, and At Home with Amy Sedaris before writing and appearing in Los Spookies. Welcome, Anna. Thank you. Hello. Julio Torres wrote for Saturday Night Live for 4 seasons, earning an Emmy nomination and a WGA award for his work. He's also appeared on High Maintenance, is a regular on The Tonight Show and Late Night, and his solo stand-up show, My Favorite Shapes by Julio Torres, premiered on HBO last August. Hi, Julio. And Fred Armisen is an 11-season veteran of Saturday Night Live, the co-writer and co-star of Portlandia, a star of movies and TV shows too numerous to name, a band leader, a stand-up comedian, and one of the great spectacles wearers of our time.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
Woo! We're back. Julio and Anna, separately, since you can't hear each other, or Julio can't hear Anna.
Can you hear me
the
now?
show
Or
is
still no? No. Okay.
I guess that's a no.
Yeah.
The show is basically realistic, but there are a lot of supernatural and kind of surreal elements that are baked into the premise. Like Andres, Julio's character, can basically control time and space and can see the future and can teleport. And Tati, basically can do anything and also at the same time nothing. But I'm sort of curious. First of all, I guess I'll just ask you, Anna, why you wanted to have that magical element to the show.
It wasn't something that we had thought about, explicitly, like, let's have a magical realism element. We just were writing and wanted to be able for anything to happen. And having it based in what is a more or less seeming normal place, but allowing all these bizarre things or supernatural things to happen without anyone saying that it's weird or it having to be explained why Andres can see through the gem. Just he can see through the gem, and everyone knows that, and it's accepted, and it's not weird. It just allowed us to do whatever we wanted without having to create some sort of like rigid set of rules that a lot of that I think you see when there's in certain like sci-fi worlds with like very precise rules, and ours is just like anything can happen.
Is that how you felt, Julio? Did you kind of want to limit the magic, or did you feel, as Anna does, that it effectively was without limits, that you could do whatever and it would be just fine? Or did you kind of want to have some rules about it?
If that is what Anna said, I agree. We neither of us wanted this world to have like rules in, because the quote unquote magic on it, it's not really magic. It almost feels more like literary devices rather than weird things that happen, because really like the oddities on the show, they go unexplained, and I feel like they go unexplained because you're not to dwell on them. It's not like a comic book movie or like a Harry Potter movie or something where you there are these like little rules that you have to learn in order to understand the world. And because as soon as you start making little rules, then you're like painting yourself in a corner. Whereas here, it's like, the second we decide that it's funny for Andres to do this thing, he can just do it. And there's a freedom that comes with it that I think is reflected in Anna, Fred, and I's individual work, where things happen, but they happen because it's fun for them to happen, and sort of our interiors wanted them to happen, rather than like creating this like little box.
You'll be very glad to hear that that was also Anna's point of view. So you won't need to have a
Oh, you should have
professional.
stopped me. You should have stopped me.
No. Put in
Okay.
different words, but just know you're in agreement on this.
Wow, what a
Fred,
test! This is stressful, but we
I
passed.
know this is like Mr. and Mrs. or whatever.
It's like that game of
Yeah.
that wedding, newlyweds game.
Yes, that's the one. In England, it's called Mr. and Mrs., but it's the newlyweds game. Yeah, we're playing that right here. Fred, you, as the kind of person who dreamt up the idea, or you all did it together, I suppose Tico was always you, but I was really kind of why you said why you wanted to play that character, but yours is not a magical character. Your Tico is very down to earth, but he also does have some strange things, like he impersonates a famous artist. Do you see him as a realistic character, or also someone with magical, or whatever we're calling them, elements?
Realistic, but there was one little magical thing that we weren't able to shoot, but there are things that he talked about that he's able to do, like park 2 cars at the same time. Like he's got a sort of intuition. And for season 2, we've got a scene where he does something it's a sort of more intuitive, but there's a little teeny little bit of magic when it comes to parking. It's almost like he could really do it with his eyes closed.
I guess actually he does maybe park with something over his eyes in season 1, maybe.
Yeah, and I think he just sort of like, he just can envision where a car could fit. It's been in the writing stages of the show. We haven't really quite done it, but it's there. It's sort of, but he's basically realistic though. He's more in the real world.
Working this podcast that this conversation will appear in is a show about creativity, and one of the things that's really striking about Los Spookies is that the 4 of them, and also Tico in his own way, are really dedicated to creativity. I mean, Ronaldo renounces relationships because he's just so obsessed with making his horrors, making his scares. Is that something that you also all feel, that it's just so important to you that your creativity, that you make other sacrifices? Actually, I'll make Anna reply to that question if I can.
I mean, to an extent, I think we're all very dedicated to the work we do because we love doing it. And if it wasn't our job, it would still be something that we're doing in our lives. But I think unlike Ronaldo, I have healthy boundaries for when to say this is my time and this is work time. But even if I'm not working, I still, write and do other, creative things just because, it's what I have always done.
Yeah. Fred, I'm when I was reading your biography before, like, it's not normal to do so many things. Do you also kind of see yourself in the young people of Los Spookies who have this dedication and this obsession with trying creative projects?
Definitely. It's almost like it seems like it's like workaholism, like wanting to work all the time, but it's every one of these endeavors is artistic. So I just feel like while I can, absolutely, I just enjoy it. I just like it. But the show to me, or that group, is more also about optimism in being in a group. So sometimes when bands get together, there's no logic to why they should have a hit record. They're like, we're just this weird band, but let's just keep going. Let's just stay together. And maybe somehow we can turn this into our job. And then sometimes that does happen. So it's more about that, an optimism about something that doesn't even make practical sense.
Yeah, and it needs the 4 of them for it to work. Like, they each bring something to it that makes it all work. It is Pride Month, and so I'm obliged to ask a question about something LGBTQ related. And since Julio, it's your turn, I'll ask you this question. Like, there is something really striking about how just casually queer the show is. A couple of the characters, but also everyone's just cool about it. Does that feel kind of aspirational? Does that feel like it reflects Latin America today? What was the message you were sort of communicating with that?
Well, as with the aspect of Latin American representation in the show, there really was no agenda for a message. I think that we made the show that came out of us, and it is a casually queer show because Anna and I are both casually queer. It's and it sort of represents our sensibilities, and in no way that what I like about it is that aspect of it is one of many, many, many aspects that makes the show what the show is. It's not sort of like a reverse TED talk where it's like, okay, these are the points that we want to make about these kinds of people. And okay, so I guess we need a character that's like that and a character that's like that. It's like, no, we sort of, it's a very playful show, and it's very true to who we are and what we want to make. And it's a vessel for the sensibilities of the three of us. And in that mix, there's this other thing. And, why is Andres gay? Well, I don't know. It seemed fun to play. So that's what you got.
That makes me think of something else, though, that, you guys were writing the show and you didn't give yourselves the most sympathetic characters. I mean, Andres is so wrapped up in himself. And, Ronaldo, my God, Ronaldo is the sweetest character on television. No one's been as nice as Ronaldo. Ursula is like she's such a great role model. She will teach you how to get paid. But Andres is I mean, he's just wrapped up in himself, and Tati is so weird.
I was actually thinking Ursula is very close to the Anna that I know. And I think that Ronaldo, I actually see some of me in Ronaldo, in sort of his optimism and his I think Ronaldo is like parts Fred, parts me. It's just like sort of like the better part of everyone. But I think that Anna loves playing dummies, and I really enjoy difficult people. So that's how that happened.
Whereas Tico, Fred, is like, again, he's so sweet. He's so put upon. He will like get along with anyone and make anything work. Like, he also is kind of a paragon, almost like that kind of person would just be walked over 6 times a day.
Yes, and he's got like a little bit of fear in him too, because he wants to do the right thing. So there's like there's a sort of, as anyone who's like trying to wants to do a good job, he's got a little bit of like worry about just getting it right, especially with parking cars. But we kept it pretty simple with him. I don't think he goes any deeper than that. Just because there's so much else going on the show. Tati as a character. Well, first of all, Andres as a character. I still see him as a good character just because he works with, and he's part of a chocolate family. There's something about chocolate families that is so, it's just like, that's good for the world. Chocolate families, so he's part of a greater good in a way. And Tati, I cannot believe what a great character that is, because it's not just, I can't put it into words of what makes that character so great, but every time I see Tati, it's full on happiness,
Anna,
do you want sort of like in the school of like a Buster Keaton or like a Charlie Chaplin almost?
Yeah. How do you see her, Anna? Anna, how do you see Tati?
I see Tati as someone who is incredibly optimistic in many ways, and has, to a fault, assumes the best in people and has no self-awareness and no sense of who she is either. And so all of her identity is just sort of like a collage of references of things that she's like, oh, this is what women act like. It's Marilyn Monroe. This is what romance looks like. It's like a movie. It's, you know, everything's very literal to her. And I think she's very kind and naive to a fault in ways that sometimes make her seem like a dummy, like Julio said.
I don't want to take advantage of too much of your time, so this will be my last question, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask about season 2, which a couple of you have mentioned a little bit. Can you give us any sense of where the show was when you had to stop filming, if indeed that's what happened? Just kind of where it's at, what's going to be in season 2. Just break it down. Julio, why don't you?
You know, oh yeah.
Okay. We were where the show was geographically, factually, it was in Chile. It was in Santiago, Chile, and you know, we made the right decision in obviously pausing, and we'll resume when it's safe to do so. And you know, the thing I was thinking about just a show is in terms of how, you know, in the gradient of what's essential and what's non-essential, I think we are, safe to say, farther down the non-essential part of society. So I think that we're all chill with waiting a little bit, but in terms of what season 2 is going to be like, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for when we resume. I think that we lean in harder on the creating of this world. I think that we expand on the casual oddities that make this world the world. And I am excited that Los Spookies get to hang with Tico more.
Good.
And I will just to give you a hint. The moon will be very important to this season of Los Spookies.
And
the
Anna
lunar,
will
the lunar season, if you will.
Oh, indeed. Will Tati have any new jobs, or does she have just like a permanent job with Los Spookies now?
She has a lot of changes
Tati
in her life.
Just finding little trenches to dig for herself and falling in them. I think. I think you can rest assured that Tati will continue to be the Tati that you know and love.
Well, thank you everyone watching for putting up with our technical difficulties. Thank you very much to Fred and Anna and Julio for also working through our technical challenges tonight. And thank you so much for making us the Spookies, which is such a wonderful show that I have now watched more than twice and could watch again tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This was so lovely. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. And I'm sure our magical people will now remove us from our transmissions, but I don't know quite how that will happen. So thank you.
Just away.
Yes. And I should also say thank you to Faith Smith, to Britt Pulley, to Cameron Drews, and for everyone who watched. Thank you. I'll just keep talking until I'm told to stop talking.
Should we just X out? Is it as easy?